Welcome to the Castell Production Studios. This is the main event, Cardinals Rewind, featuring your host, Stephen McCollum.
Well, as I said last week on the Cardinals Rewind for Week 16, leading into the Seattle game, Seattle has a lot to play for. They're going to come out. They're going to be a hard team to beat. Hopefully, they come out a little sluggish, overlooking the Cardinals with their Week 17 matchup. And that's exactly what happened. Seattle showed up, didn't get off the bus, and Cardinals, just quite frankly, just hit them in the mouth. Got the win, got a victory Monday in Week 16 against the Seattle Seahawks, a 27-13 victory, taking the Cardinals to 5-9-1 on the year. Interesting little note for those of you that like draft stuff and hope your team lose for better draft picks. Cardinals went from the number 6 draft pick to the number 9 draft pick. So for those of you upset about that, hey, it's a victory to go to 5-9-1 on the season. This game was more of a ground raid type game, meaning they was just handoff city to Kenyon Drake out there. The Cardinals have shown throughout the year that they can adapt, so they win either by special teams, they can win by defense on occasion. Let's take that with a grain of salt. But they can win with passing plays, 40 passes by Kyler Murray. They can win with a running game like they just did on Sunday night. So that's the positive I see out of this game and many of the other games is Cardinals can change up their game plan and specialize in areas where the other team is bad at. We said it going into last week that the Seahawks have a horrible rushing defense. And boy, did it show. No doubt about it. So here's the interesting thing, right? There's trends that happen in football, and we're going to talk about it later on, but like the Rams right now, when Jeff Fisher was on the Rams, the Cardinals had the Rams number and just beat them all the time and beat them badly usually. And then now that's kind of switched, and we'll talk about that with the Rams game coming up this week where now the Rams have the Cardinals numbers and just the matchup is horrible with McVay as the coach. But the interesting thing about this Seattle matchup is in Seattle, the Cardinals can just go in there and they can win. They're one of the few teams that can win there lately. And this, by the way, is with other coaching staffs. It's obviously this is the first year, so it transcends the coaching staff. It's just something about the Cardinals going into Seattle. And the Cardinals have won 4 out of the last 5 games in Seattle, which is unheard of. Seattle rarely loses at home. So it was definitely an enjoyable game to watch, especially for all of us. Now, granted, I dislike the 49ers a lot more than I dislike the Seattle Seahawks. So I would have rather have seen Seattle win. I'm glad for the Cardinals' victory because I do not want the Niners to win this division. But, hey, beggars can't be choosers. Very enjoyable game. So, as I said, Seattle was playing for something. And the Cardinals just went after him. You know, Seattle took the ball on the opening kickoff, went 80, I want to say, well, Cardinals punted first, right? 3 plays and out, typical starting drive for the Cardinals. And then Seattle went down in 9 plays, 89 total yards from their 11, Seattle 11. So basically 89-yard drive to score a touchdown. And you were like, oh, here's the Seattle Seahawks for you. We'll get more into the game management with some things that caught my eye on the game in terms of the series, like we always do. But here's the news everybody wants to hear, right? Kyler Murray, with 5 minutes left to go in the third quarter, goes out of the game, pulls up, lame. Brett Hundley has to come in for him. He's out the rest of the game. Now, on Monday, they did an MRI on him and everything. And on Monday, Cliff Kingsbury said that reps are important and that Kyler Murray will play if he's healthy enough to play and it can play. So now the update is, I'll just go ahead and skip to the update real quick. On Friday, today, after the holidays and everything, because they had Wednesday off for Christmas, they gave him the day off. So he gets back in there. He's not practicing. But now Kingsbury says that Kyler Murray is a game-time decision. In my mind, that tells me Kyler Murray's not playing unless Brett Hundley gets hurt or something happens. Kyler Murray's going to sit this out. there's a lot of reasons why you want to see Kyler Murray play. If you're the Cardinals, is one, you need the. Cliff Kingsbury said that he needs the reps. Reps are hugely important. Playing in other stadiums is hugely important, so that way you can get used to those stadiums. But that explanation goes out the window this weekend for the Rams because it is the Rams' last game in the Coliseum. They move to their new stadium next year, so Kyler Murray will never play in the Coliseum unless another team moves there or something bad happens to the new stadium. So it's not important that he gets game reps in terms of stadium recognition. You know what I'm trying to say. Recognize the new stadium, get comfortable in there. That's what you get for trying to use big words for everybody. Just stick to simple words. And so that goes out the window. And I don't know. I just have a gut feeling. It could be totally wrong. Kyler Murray's not going to play this weekend against the Rams, which I'm fine with. So that's the big question. Should Kyler Murray play? I've been scouring the internet. A lot of the fans are saying no. The media is probably about half and half. The way I look at it is if he's healthy enough to go out there and he's not going to re-injure it and he's going to be the Kyler Murray that we've seen throughout the year, then let him play. But if he's going to be in there and not be able to run the ball, not be able to do the offense like he needs to do and he has been doing, he needs to sit down. Let's see what Brett Hundley can do. Brett Hundley was serviceable last week when he came in. Really quick, we skipped over it. Kyler Murray last week was 11 of 18, 118 yards and 1 touchdown. Like I said, he did go out 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Brett Hundley came in, was 4 for 9, 49 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Nice thing to see was no turnovers for the Cardinals last week, which is always a positive. And Brett Hundley went in and managed the game for the most part. The Cardinals didn't take a dip at all. They didn't let Seattle back in it after that occurred. A lot of times you'll see that with teams as they switch quarterbacks. So, as I said, this weekend against the Rams, I'm okay. Kyler Murray sits. But if he's able to go and be himself, let him play. I just think it's a slightly pulled hamstring. He had a hamstring after the bye week. That was one of the worst games they played against who else? The Rams, where they played like garbage and got blown out after that bye week when Kyler Murray's hamstring was damaged then. So it's okay. Let's let him sit on that. So one thing about the hamstring also that kind of just worries you a little bit. You go into the off season and everything. But one thing is that, man, as I talked about, Seattle, it's cold up there. He was running all over the place. But the nice thing was they were handing the ball off to Kenyon Drake like a madman. He had an 80-yard TD run where he wasn't even touched. He was explosive. He outran the Seattle defense. He had 24 carries, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 180-something, I want to say 184 total yards, meaning passing as well on the weekend. As I said last week, I declared last week that David Johnson is no longer going to be on this team. It's definitely cemented with Kenyon Drake's performance last week. So the other thing that happened last week for Kyler Murray that's nice is if he doesn't play this week, he's got some pretty good stats on the year for a rookie. Kyler Murray is the first rookie quarterback with a road win in Seattle. That's how long it's been since Andy Dalton in Week 8 in 2011. So it doesn't happen very often, especially for rookies in Seattle with Pete Carroll up there. Absolutely. The other thing is, so just in case Kyler Murray doesn't play this weekend, like I said, he might. It's a game time decision. I'm leaning toward no, but I don't have any inside info from my couch. But if Kyler Murray, this is according to Bob McManaman. God, I cannot talk today. Wow, this is professional broadcasting at its best. On Twitter, who of course is the Cardinals beat writer, he said if Kyler Murray doesn't play, he finishes having completed 323 of 500 passes attempted. So that's 64.6%. For 3,397 yards, 18 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and an 87.9 passer rating. He set franchise rookie records for wins, pass yards, touchdown passes, completions, and attempts. and games, which he had 4 with 300 or more passing yards. So he's just lighting up the NFL quietly, no less. A lot of people aren't talking about him anymore, partly because they're out of the playoff hunt and they had, the bad 6-game losing streak. But tell me another rookie out there that's better than what Kyler Murray has done this year. Absolutely. And that's without him playing this weekend also. So he can improve on that. Of course, he can also make it worse this weekend as well. So, and now again, Kenyon Drake dominating there. The Cardinals are basically saying that they're going to be re-signing him. I've seen figures everywhere in regards to his numbers that he'll get, 4 years, $24 million, stuff like that. But there's some interesting stats out there. When he was with Miami, he didn't perform that well. But Kenyon Drake, this is according to NFL.com right here, a stat I found earlier in the week. Kenyon Drake has 100-plus rushing yards in 3 of his 7 games with the Cardinals this season. He had 2 such games, meaning so he had 2 games with the 100-plus rushing yards in previous 54 games with Miami. So whatever this Cardinals offense is it is good for Drake. Drake loves the Cardinals offense. He is just out there dominating. Now, he did have a couple bad, like the last Rams game. He had a total of, I think, 34 yards. So, obviously, it's not all roses. But, hey, you're down by 30 points in the second quarter. You're not going to run the ball very much out there, right? So, the other thing was I looked this up, and then I saw a couple other people do it as well. And there's some number differences, so I don't know where my math was different. It could be me. I don't know. I ran out of fingers. But Kenyon Drake, since joining the Cardinals, he has 539 yards, 6 touchdowns, and as I just said, 3 100-yard games. He's been with the team for 7 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, and he is that explosive. He is that dominating out there on the field. Way more than what David Johnson was doing even last year, let alone this year. I know he's been benched and he was injured, but beginning of the year was just brutal for that stuff. So just amazing. One thing also, it wasn't a passing game at all, but one thing I did want to touch on was Larry Fitzgerald. I think he's coming back next year. I declared last week. No reason to think he's not. He likes this offense. I think he'd be a good mentor for hopefully some draft picks of receivers they bring in here this year, in addition to Christian Kirk. And Keyshawn Johnson will be, improved. And, gosh, maybe Andy Isabella will catch the field every once in a while next year. But Larry Fitzgerald, the old man himself, led the receivers in this game. He had 4 receptions, 48 yards. And if you haven't seen that spectacular short yard catch where Murray was scrambling out to his left and was about to run the ball, and he sees Larry blocking downfield 3 yards away from him, sidearms the ball. Larry catches it, ends up being a 21-yard touchdown. He runs over a defender, gets in the end zone. It was a spectacular play. It was a 2nd and 7 play. Murray got outside, did what he did, got the ball to Larry. Like I said, sidearmed around a defender. And Larry did the rest. And it was just great to see, that occur for him because he still got some stuff on there. I mean, as he slowed down, yes. 17th year, come on. But he is still the guy out there, and he's still got some benefit to this team. And here's the thing. He has become the second player in NFL history with 17,000-plus receiving yards. Of course, the great Jerry Rice is ahead of him. He's not going to catch him. Nobody's catching Jerry Rice unless you play for 1,000 years. And, that's with those bad years, man, where he had Derek Anderson as his quarterback and Max Hall and all the other guys that you struggle to think of names on because, they're not even flash in the pans. They were, went in there and just overwhelmed right away. So the defense really quick. Played really well against Seattle, actually. Didn't, other than that first 89-yard drive, didn't really give up much after that to the Seattle offense. But the one specific, and there was a couple plays where a couple of the secondary guys just laid out offensive players for Seattle. And some of the video is great because some of the players were mic'd up where Chandler Jones went up to Budda Baker and was like, man, that was a great hit. That was a hard hit. He's like, how do you hit a guy like that? And Budda goes, no fear, man, no fear. It's pretty funny to watch the players talk on the field where a defensive lineman who is running to sack the quarterback loves the way another guy hits, and then they talk about it on the field between plays. It's just, I love that inside stuff. No doubt about it. So, but the guy I want to specifically talk about, as I just mentioned him, no, not Budda Baker, who's just on a tear right now, but Chandler Jones. He's continuing to take this league by storm on the defensive side. Basically, with the Cardinals, he's basically unblockable. He has 13.5 sacks in 9 career games versus the Seahawks. I mean, think about that for a minute. 13.5 sacks in 9 career games against the Seahawks. So, obviously, he's something special with the Seahawks on him. Chandler Jones was also named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week for the second time. But he had 4 sacks this week, 2 tackles for loss. Just an all-around dominating performance for a guy that one of the best defensive players in the league that just doesn't get the recognition. He didn't get the recognition when he was in New England, and he's playing better here in Arizona than he did in New England. And he was definitely not shabby in New England before they traded him to the Cardinals. One side of it that I was kind of disappointed in was the special teams generally has played well. They had one game before where they struggled, but there was a blocked field goal. Seattle blocked a Zane Gonzalez field goal attempt. And, then the third quarter there, Cardinals went 10 plays, 31 yards from their Arizona 28. Lined up for the field goal and just blocked. You hate to see that. Such a, give your guy an opportunity to miss it is what I always say. Mr. Pessimistic here, or Mr. Negative, as people will call me sometimes. Give the kicker a chance to shank it. At least let him get the ball up in the air and not get it blocked. So that's obviously something you'd rather not see. But so going back to the gameplay here real quick, so we can wrap up the Seattle game a little bit and get on to the final week of the season. As I'm loading everything up here, give me uno momento as I stall here a little bit on everything. So Cardinals start off the game, as I said, with the punt. And then Seahawks go down, like I said, 9 plays, 89 yards, score a touchdown. But the nice thing to see was Cardinals turn around, and that's the play where Kenyon Drake goes one play, 80 yards down the field, 17 seconds for him to run 80 yards. I think I was kind of wondering how long it would take me to run 80 yards. I think the clock would still be ticking. The stopwatch would still be going. They would have turned off the lights because I would have gone down like the 40-yard line heaving. If the ambulance came in and left in that direction, I'd cross the goal line a lot faster than me running it. But 17 seconds for the whole play for him to go 80 yards, one play. So it's nice to see the Cardinals answer the Seattle big drive. And then it was just like a punt fest for both teams until the Cardinals finally broke through and went up 14-7. 5 plays, 54 yards there. So it was nice to see that. So they go 14-7. Seattle punts again. Then right for the half, the Cardinals get the ball. 11 plays, 51 yards, and then they kick a field goal. 17-7 at the half. It's really nice to see, like I said, the Cardinals basically matched them touchdown for touchdown, and then just handle that punt fest for both defenses, and they get a field goal at the end of the half. So, but then they come out in the third quarter, and it was really nice. Seattle fumbled the ball, and what have we been talking about all season, folks? We've been talking about how the Cardinals rarely score after a turnover, and lo and behold, we have another one 2 weeks in a row. So they come out, Seattle fumbles the ball, 4 plays, 38 yards, fumble, Cardinals recover it. Cardinals go down and kick a field goal. 6 plays, 37 yards, 20-7 to take the lead. So they return a turnover by Seattle and get some points out of it. Obviously, I'm nitpicking here, but I would obviously like to see touchdowns. We've touched on this, but heck, we'll take field goals, right, everybody? And then it became the punt fest again, the blocked field goal. But then, see, that's the thing. After the blocked field goal by the Cardinals, Seattle goes 4 plays, gets a total of 4 yards. Yay. But they kick a field goal to make it 20-10. So they scored off of our quote-unquote turnover blocked field goal issue there. And then it just became a field goal fest for Seattle at that point. Cardinals punted, Seattle field goal. So Seattle gets the field goal, 8 plays, 27 yards, 20-13. Seattle kicks the field goal. What do the Cardinals do? They do what we want to see them do. 9 plays, 78 yards, a long 5 minutes, 44-second drive. Took all the time off the clock. Seattle, made it within one possession, made it 20-13. And the Cardinals get the ball on offense. And what we've been begging them to do all year is take the ball. They don't give it back to their defense without scoring. Like I said, 9 plays, 78 yards, 5 minutes, 44 seconds, 27-13. Cardinals touchdown. Kenyon Drake went to the right for 3 yards on that touchdown. Basically iced the game for the Cardinals. We've seen many games this year where the Cardinals would get the ball 20-13 after Seattle scored, go 3 and out, punt the ball back to them, and then either the defense has to stop them or the defense lets them go down and score, and the offense has to score to either win the game or at least tie it up. And then Seattle turns the ball over on downs. Cardinals win the game, as I said, 27-13. All-around performance by this Cardinals team. You can nitpick and get in there, but if this wasn't the best we've seen the Cardinals play this year, it is definitely one in the top 2 or 3 of the Cardinals season this year. And like I said, the positives I take out of it is they won a different way. They won by running the ball this time. Not a lot of passing. They won even though Kyler Murray went down, which you never want to see. Hundley went in there, and there was no letdown by the Cardinals on that. And this is a good Seattle team who's fighting for stuff. So definitely awesome to see this week. But we got to turn ahead. 5-9-1 Cardinals are going to go for their final game this season against the Los Angeles Rams for their last game at the Coliseum, which they've been there, I believe, for 2 years now. And they move into their new stadium next year. 2:25 game kickoff on Sunday. And Rams are 7-9. I'm sorry, 7-8. I apologize. 8-7. I'm dyslexic all of a sudden. Can't read. So the Rams are 8-7. There's no doubt the Rams want to finish this season 8-8. This has been a disappointing season. All over the map for the Rams coming off their Super Bowl last year. Hugely disappointing season for them. 8-8 would be a huge accomplishment. 8-8 looks a lot better. I'm sorry, 9-7 looks a lot better than 8-8. I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on with me today, everybody. Jeez. So Rams want to win this game to go to 9-7. And 8-8 on this 9-7 looks a lot better than 8-8 on the season, and that's what they're going to be fighting for to get there. Here's the caveat: I don't know if the players really care. I'm sure they do deep down, but here's the thing: the Rams have the biggest injury list this week. Everybody's on it. Jalen Ramsey, their best cornerback's already been ruled out for this week. Earlier in the week, so we're going to be seeing a lot of guys from the practice squad for the Rams in there. I don't know how motivated they're going to be. It'd be nice to see whether it's Brett Hundley or Kyler Murray to go out there, do the same thing like they did in Seattle, get some running going, short passes going, mix it up a little bit. Defense just stop these Rams. And let's get the Rams finishing at 8-8. Cardinals can finish 6-9-1. Rams will be at 8-8. That'll be a hugely bad season for the Rams. 9-7 is going to give them some hope, some things, some intrigue going into next year. Because everything I'm reading says they're going to make a defensive coordinator change. Wade Phillips might be on his way out, so they're going to make some changes on that defensive side. It'd be nice to have them make it easier for them to make those decisions by making them finish 8-8 on a year after they went to the Super Bowl. So here's the thing that I want to see out of this game this week. Besides, obviously, the obvious play, you get a turnover, go down and score. No turnovers for the Cardinals. I want to see if it is Hundley, I want to see how Hundley performs out there. You're going to need him at some point. Kyler Murray's not going to stay healthy a lot of the time for the season. He might miss a couple games in the season. I want to see what Brett Hundley can do in the same offense as the Cardinals, as Kyler Murray's in. But then also, man, the Rams these last couple of weeks since Sean McVay was hired has just had the Cardinals number. When they played here after the bye, the Rams just dominated that game. It was that turn off the game 2 minutes into it because you know how it's going to end, all that good stuff. So I'd like to see the Cardinals get to the point. Doesn't mean they're going to win the game, but I'd like to see the Cardinals get in there and play them tough. Figure out this matchup problem they've been having against the Rams the last couple years. Now, granted, the Rams had a lot of talent last year and went to the Super Bowl, but just a matchup issue. Cardinals can beat teams on the road. Look at Seattle last week. They just got to figure out this matchup issue, get some confidence against these Rams, and do it. And that's what I want to see come out of this Week 17. I'd like to see a Cardinals victory at 6-9-1. This game is hard to pick, though, right? Because you don't know if Kyler Murray's playing. You don't know if it's Brent Hundley. You know already Jalen Ramsey's out. You know a lot. Gosh, they have like 10 guys on the injury report. Some of their main guys are going to be out. So this game's kind of hard to pick. So I'm just going to go ahead and go homer on this one. I think the Cardinals are going to win this one, 21-17 to close out the Rams Coliseum days, going to their other stadium. I said this last time before the bye week, where Cardinals need to go in there, hit them, get the lead early, and then this team will slow down and quit on them. I was completely wrong after the bye week, so I'm going to try it again this week. I think if the Cardinals do that, you're going to see the Rams kind of fold a little bit. There's going to be nobody in that stadium. Nobody goes to games in L.A. when there's nothing on the line. Nobody's going to be there. It's the last game of the Coliseum. Nobody cares. Cardinals should go in there, like I said, beat this 21-17, 21-14 type of a range. And that's with Brent Hundley even starting on there. I think he'll be a good starter for this game if he does get in there. And, of course, the big thing is just feed the ball to Kenyon Drake, open up the holes, let him do his magic. One other quick note that I wanted to bring up, that the NFL has been doing their top 100 all-time players, their all-time team. And one of the Cardinals got in there, one of the current Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald, was named in the top 100 all-time team for the NFL last week. He had some good comments about that, and he beat out some Hall of Famers out there like Terrell Owens didn't make it. So on there. So it's great thing for Larry Fitzgerald. Pay attention to this game this weekend. It might be the last one you see. I don't think so. I think he's coming back for one more year. I think next year will be a song, unless they go to the Super Bowl, or at least, they go to the championship game. He might come back for year 18. But I just think next year is going to be the final year as of right now. But I think he'll move on, so it'll be interesting to see. So next week we'll review, obviously, the Rams game and see what we got if Brent Hundley plays, whether Kyler Murray plays out there. And then we'll also go into some of the draft order, obviously, some needs on the Cardinals, just for a quick wrap-up on this Cardinals Rewind season. Then I'm sure we'll be back around draft time to discuss draft picks that they pick. We're not going to do any mock drafting for the Cardinals. That's not my thing. I can't stand mock drafts. And we'll go from there after this week. But appreciate everybody for listening. We will see you next week. You can, of course, reach out to me at SMAC500 on Twitter and all the social medias. Definitely would like to interact with you, get some opinions that differ that we can bring up on the show. So definitely check me out at SMAC500. And until next week, the main event, Cardinals Rewind, will be back to review the Rams game and look at the offseason.